KOCCKL, the beautiful anthem of South Africa. Hello, my lovely students. A very hearty welcome to this mind-blowing platform, Physics Wallah. My name is Nupur Sharma, and today we are going to talk about a wonderful personality, Nelson Mandela, and his long walk to freedom. You know, Long Walk to Freedom was written by Nelson Mandela. It was his autobiography. You know what's an autobiography? Autobiography is when a person writes about himself. Now, what are we going to do today? Today, we are going to have an overview of this chapter, then line by line explanation, summary, word meanings, and then we are going to discuss the question answers of this chapter. Now, before doing that, we have to learn about a very important thing, and that is apartheid. Do you know that this chapter is completely based on the system of apartheid? Yes, in this chapter, we are going to talk about apartheid. Now, before anything else, let's move on and discuss about apartheid. Students, do you know what's apartheid? Apartheid means racial discrimination. Racial discrimination, or you can also say racial segregation. Segregation wherein the people are divided into on the basis of physical attribute. Here in this case, we can see blacks and coloreds. On the other hand, had whites. Yes, the South African society was divided into blacks and whites on the basis of how people used to look, on the physical attribute, on the basis of their skin color. You know who were the coloreds people? Coloreds were the people who migrated to South Africa from Asia or from other European countries, and they were not white in color. They were either of the brown color or either they were blackish brown in color, and they were regarded, as in the lower strata of the society by the white people. In South Africa, we could see the supremacy of white people. Yes, this race thought that we are on the highest strata of our society, and the blacks and colored people, they are on the lowest strata. Okay, so this is racial discrimination on the basis of skin color. It's on the basis of skin color. It's on the basis of physical attribute. Now, okay, I am going to explain this to you through some images. You can see one image here. Under Section 37 of the Durban Beach Bylaws, this bathing area is reserved for the sole use of members of the white group. Now, how it was done? How was apartheid practiced? In this way. Okay, you can see a board here. A board here is put where it is written that this area is only reserved for white people. It is not for the black people. It means that the black people who are actually the natives of South Africa, they cannot visit a place in their own country. Why? Because it is reserved for the white people. Now, in the second photo, we can see that there is a water cooler which is reserved for colored people. Okay, it's for colored people, and one of them must be for black people, and white people cannot drink from here. Okay, white people, they didn't used to drink from here because they thought that this is polluted. They used to think that the blacks and colored people, they are polluted. They are uneducated people, and we should not stand with them. Because white people used to consider that we are supreme, and these people are very dangerous. These people are polluted. These people are not, actually, they are not so capable that they should be part of a society. Now, in the next image, we can see that this area is also reserved for white people. Okay, white area means that the blacks and coloreds cannot enter this area. In the second image, we can see it's written caution. Caution. Where is caution sign put? Caution sign is put where we have to give a warning. Here, what kind of warning is given? Beware of natives. We can see that in some houses there is a board put out of the house where it is written, beware of dogs. Why is it written? Beware of natives. Are the natives dangerous? Yes. The whites used to consider natives as dangerous. They used to think that the natives, the blacks and the colored people, they are actually criminals. They are polluted people. They are only, they are born to be slaves. They are born to be slaves. They are not qualified to become a member of the society. Do you know the society, how the society was divided? There were separate schools. There were separate schools for white people and black people. Hospitals were different. The cinema halls, even cinema halls were not there for black people. Black people were not allowed to, have basic amenities as well. Even the hospitals and schools which were there for black people, they did not have, good facilities. The best hospitals, the best institutions, schools and colleges were reserved for white people. If you were a black person, if you were a colored person living in South Africa at that time, you could not even get basic amenities. You could not, survive. You could not survive because you were always humiliated. Okay, the people were always humiliated there. They were not considered a part of the society. They were not considered educated. They were considered illiterate. They were considered, the lowest of the lowest member of the society. Now, obviously, all these things are enough to, raise anger in you. That how can people do such thing? How could the whites, stoop down to such a level that they used to do, such kind of bad things with? But, that was the case. Now, if we move on to the chapter, we'll see that how Nelson Mandela, pulled his country out of this, practice of this racial discrimination of apartheid. Okay. Now, before that, we'll have an overview. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was a South African anti-apartheid activist who served as the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. Now, he was the first president, okay? He was the first president, first black president. He was the country's first black head of state and the first elected in a fully representative democratic election. Yes, the democratic elections were held for the first time in South Africa. It means that free and fair elections were held, okay? Everybody got a chance to vote and they chose Nelson Mandela. Why they chose him, we'll get the answers in the chapter itself. His government focused on dismantling the legacy of apartheid. Dismantling means breaking, yes. Apartheid was broken into pieces and it was sided, and we could see that the racial conciliation was fostered. Racial conciliation means racial conciliation is completely opposite racial discrimination. The people were brought together. The people of all the races were brought together when Nelson Mandela was chosen as the president, when the apartheid system ended. Ideologically an African nationalist and socialist, he served as the president of ANC party from 1991 to 1997. We could see that he was in ANC, African National Congress party. Okay, now he was ideologically a nationalist. What do you mean by that? He was a nationalist. He was a patriot. Do you know who's a nationalist? Who loves his own country? Okay, who's a patriot? And he was also a socialist. You know what's a socialist? You must have read it in your history book, in civics book. You must have heard. Who's a socialist? Socialist is a person who thinks of the society as a whole, who wants that all the members of society should live together. Now, it was not possible when the apartheid was being practiced, but it was possible after apartheid ended. The racial discrimination ended and a new country began. Now, let's move on to the chapter. Here we can see a clipping. Mandela becomes South Africa's first black president. Yes, it was a historical day when Mandela became South Africa's first black president. Nelson Mandela has become South Africa's first black president after more than 3 centuries of white rule. Yes, after 3 centuries, more than 300 years of white rule, now he became the first black president. It was quite a historical day. Mr. Mandela's ANC party won 252 out of the 400 seats, quite a majority. Now, the first democratic elections, yes, they were the first democratic elections. It means that they were completely free and fair. And he got 250 out of 400 votes. Now, the inauguration ceremony took place in the Union Buildings Amphitheatre in Pretoria today, attended by politicians and dignitaries from more than 140 countries around the world. Now, the inauguration ceremony. Yes, an inauguration ceremony took place. Inauguration ceremony means it was the beginning of a new society. It was the beginning of a new country where apartheid has ended. Now, it was an inauguration ceremony and everybody took part in that. More than 140 countries, yes, more than 140 countries took part. The politicians and dignitaries. Dignitaries means the important people of the country attended, of the 140 countries attended this. Okay, they became a part of that historical day. And never again will this beautiful land experience the oppression of one by another. Now, this was said by Nelson Mandela. He said never and never. He is, overemphasizing on the word never because he wants that never to happen. That on the beautiful land, yes, South Africa is very beautiful. He said that never the oppression of one by another. It will experience oppression. It means the domination of one by another. Nobody is going to dominate the other person. Okay, nobody is going to dominate another person, said Nelson Mandela in his address. When he addressed the nation, he said that it's not going to happen again. Jubilant scenes on the streets of Pretoria followed the ceremony with blacks, whites, and coloreds celebrating together. Yes, all the people were celebrating together. Okay, before that we could see that all the people were fighting, white people, they were not considering blacks and coloreds to be equal. But here we can see that they were celebrating together. More than 1 lakh South African men, women, and children of all races sang and danced with joy. Yes, they were all singing. They were all dancing with each other because they were enjoying this beautiful day together. Now, 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. Now, who is saying all these lines? These lines are said by Nelson Mandela as it is an excerpt from his autobiography. Now, he is saying that he was pleasantly besieged. It means he was surrounded by the dignitaries and the world leaders who had come to his country to attend that inauguration ceremony, who had come there to become a part of that historical day. Okay, now he was surrounded by them. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever. Yes, it was the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. Yes, that had never happened on South African soil. Here, soil means on land. On the land of South Africa, it had never happened before. Yes, that all the people came together to be a part of this ceremony. And so many countries took part in this. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Now, where did it take place? It took place in Pretoria in an amphitheater. Okay, in a sandstone amphitheater. What's an amphitheater? A building without a roof with many rows of seats rising in succession. Okay, it looks like a stadium. Amphitheater is just similar to a stadium. In stadium, we can see there is no roof and the seats are descending, ascending like this. They are rising higher and higher. So in this amphitheater, this ceremony is taking place. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy. Now, this thing should be, taken into consideration that this was a seat for white supremacy. Only white people used to come into that amphitheater to be a part of whatever ceremonies took place there. But now, today, it is a rainbow gathering. Today, a rainbow gathering is taking place here. Why it's called a rainbow gathering? Because many colors have come together. The people of, a wide variety of range of skin colors have come today. Whites, pales, blacks, coloreds means brown and red. all the skin tones have come together. All the people of different skin tones have come together, and this is the rainbow gathering. It's a very big day, it's a very big achievement that they have come together to install. They have come together to be a part of the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. So this should be taken care. You know, it happened on 10th May 1994. 10th May 1994. Yes, this was the year when this took place. This democratic non-racial government was going to, taken place. It was going to start. Now, on that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zenini. You know that autumn day is very beautiful. And on 10th of May in South Africa, it was the day of autumn, and he was being accompanied by his daughter Zenini. Now, on the podium, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. Now, he was remembering that second deputy president was Mr. De Klerk, and then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. He became the first deputy president. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. As we can see that this is an inauguration ceremony, and all the presidents and the deputy presidents and the prime ministers, every minister is going to take a pledge. They are going to take an oath that they are going to devote themselves for the welfare of this country. Now, Nelson Mandela had already devoted himself for the welfare of this country, but now he's saying that even further, even in the future, he is going to devote himself fully for the well-being of the republic. Republic means the Republic of South Africa and its people. Yes, he is going to devote his life for its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said, what did he say? Today, all of us do by our presence here. Now, he starts by saying this. He starts his speech by this. Today, all of us do by our presence here. He says this to the assembled guests, all the dignitaries, all the world leaders, all the, rainbow colored people. He says this to them. We who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host the nations of the world on our own soil. Now he is saying, we who were outlaws. We who were outlaws means that the people of South Africa, they were considered outlaws because they were practicing apartheid. Okay, because of the policy of apartheid, many countries had earlier broken off the diplomatic relationships with South Africa. We could see that till 1994 they were practicing apartheid, which was a very bad practice, and all the people had broken off their relationships with them. Now they had come to be a part of this ceremony. So he was saying that it's a rare privilege. It's a rare privilege. It's a very big opportunity for all of us that we have become host to the nations of the world on our own soil. South Africa is welcoming such great people to its own land. We thank all of our distinguished international guests having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. Now, as we can see, whenever this kind of ceremony takes place, the leader thanks all the people who have come together. Okay, he is thanking all the dignitaries, all the world leaders that they have, come to be a part of this beautiful ceremony, of this beautiful day. He's thanking them because he cannot believe that on South Africa this is happening, and the people are standing together with those people who were outlaws, who were actually considered criminals because they used to practice apartheid, and for so long, till 1994, when most of the countries had already, become democratic. But he is saying that this is a common victory. This is a common victory. Yes, this is a common victory for justice, for peace and human dignity. You know that we cannot say that our world is peaceful if even one of the countries is suffering. Now South Africa was free of all the hardships that it was facing. So he is saying that this is a common victory. Now, We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Now he is making promises to the people. Now we should consider this thing, that these are not false promises. These are not false promises like the other leaders do. He is a very true leader. And he is saying that we have achieved our political emancipation. Political emancipation here means that we are free from all kinds of restrictions. Earlier, the people used to face a lot of restrictions in South Africa, okay? And we'll read about it in this chapter. We pledge ourselves. He's saying that we pledge, we take an oath that we are going to free you from poverty. Because yes, South Africa was suffering from a lot of poverty, deprivation, suffering, and a lot of other discriminations, like gender discrimination was very prevalent there, and other kind of discriminations. He said that I am going to free you from all these things. He is promising all the people of South Africa that the good days are about to come, and every bad evil, every social evil in the society is going to end. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. Now, this is the same line that we read earlier, okay, in that clipping. Now he's saying that never, never. He's saying, he's overemphasizing on the word never. Why? Because he is pretty sure, he's pretty sure that this is not going to happen. He wants to make sure to the people that nobody is going to oppress the other person. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Why is he saying so? Because he wants that the sun shall never set. Why? Because this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. It's not going to happen again. The freedom will reign. The freedom will reign means the freedom will rule. Earlier, white people used to rule on the blacks. Okay, now he's saying that nobody is going to rule another person. The freedom is going to rule, and the sun shall never set means that it means the dark time of South Africa is never going to return back. God bless Africa. Now he's wishing that the God must bless Africa on this beautiful day. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers roared in perfect formation over the Union buildings. Now he's saying, now we can create a visual image in our heads that the helicopters and troops, they are going in perfect formation, just like it does in India. Okay, we can see on Republic Day, on 26th of January, that all the helicopters are going in a great union, and they are showing different kinds of acts. Okay, they are showing different kinds of acts. The jets are going and they are leaving beautiful beautiful smokes, different colors they are leaving. And he also says that this is not a display of pinpoint precision. Yes, it is not a display of pinpoint precision, because everything happens in precision. They are trying to show that we have done a lot of practice. We are very dedicated. That is why they want to show. What do they want to show? They want to show that this is not a display of pinpoint precision. This is not just for display. This is not just for your own entertainment. Okay. Sometimes we think that the helicopters are dancing like this and they are forming a perfect union. They are for entertaining us. No, they are not for entertaining us. Actually, the military wants to say, the police wants to say that we are practicing. We have practiced a lot. This is how dedicated we are. We want to show our loyalty for our country. We want to show our love for our country, that even when bad times are going to come, when bad situations are going to come, we are going to practice just like this. We are going to work for you like this. We are going to show our loyalty for you like this only. To the new government. Now they are showing this to their new government, which had been freely and fairly elected. Yes, this is very important. You have just read about democracy in your political science, and you know what is the importance of free and fair elections. Yes, earlier these kind of things were not happening. These practices were not taking place in South Africa. So it's a very big day for South Africa, because he has been freely and fairly elected. Only moments before, the highest generals of South African Defense Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged by their loyalty. Now, what is Mandela saying? Nelson Mandela is saying that the policemen and the military men who were actually decorated by all the medals, it means that they have won a lot of wars, you know, they get the medals, they get the ribbons when they have earlier won a war, when they have been, you know, very successful in their career as military people. Now he's saying that they are saluting me. They are saluting me, and it's a very big thing. Why? Because he is not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted me but arrested me. Yes, these people who are saluting Nelson Mandela, who are thanking Nelson Mandela, they would have arrested him because Nelson Mandela was a criminal. Yes, Nelson Mandela was a criminal in the eyes of these people because he was working for his own country. He was working for his own freedom, you know, like Mahatma Gandhi and Bhagat Singh and all the other freedom fighters that have done so much for us. They were put to jail, they were put to prison, they were considered as criminals by the British force. Why? Because they were working for the freedom of their own country. They were put behind bars. Similarly, Nelson Mandela also said that they didn't used to salute me, they used to put me in the prison. Now, finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. A chevron of Impala. Here, chevron means their formation, it's a formation of V. The Impala jets. What are Impala jets? Impala jets were the jets which were produced in South Africa itself. They were manufactured in the South Africa itself. So that is why they were forming a chevron of Impala, and they were leaving a trail behind, a smoke trail behind. Like we can see when the jets move in the sky, they are leaving a white trail behind. But they are not leaving white trail, they are leaving black, red, green, blue, and gold, which are the colors of South African flag. Another beautiful display for the loyalty towards the nation. Now, the day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Kosi CKKL Africa and blacks singing Die Stem, the old anthem of Republic. Now, another beautiful thing, two anthems were being sung that day. The African people were singing the English anthem, and the English people were singing the African anthem. The African anthem, Kosi CKKL Africa. Do you know that this anthem, which was, you know, the old anthem, it was banned in South Africa. It was banned in South Africa while apartheid was being practiced. It was only secretly sung by the, you know, nationalists of South Africa. Only the people who used to love the country, they used to sing it privately. They didn't have the right to speak it, you know, to sing it, you know, in public. Now, and the blacks were singing Die Stem. What does it show? What does it show? It shows unity. This is a beautiful display of unity. They were showing unity. Now, how can we say that they have accepted each other? You know, when a country accepts its people, they accept their language. Okay, so Africans have accepted English, and the English have accepted the African language. This shows the unity which was held in South Africa. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. Now, this is again, this is another aspect, that they didn't know the lyrics. Obviously, Africans didn't know the lyrics of the English anthem, and the English people, the white people, they did not know the lyrics of the African anthem Kosi CKKL, because it was not their mother tongue, it was not their mother language. And but they still sang that. They used to despise it, they used to hate this particular anthem, but they sang it, they will sing it by heart in the future. On the day of inauguration, I was so overwhelmed with a sense of history. He was overwhelmed means he was remembering the history, was trying to remember the history, what happened in the history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned people, the white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned people of their own land. Now, what is happening here? He is remembering the history of the Anglo-Boer War. Anglo-Boer War took place, you must have heard, you must have read it in the history books. Now, here a pact takes place. You know, whenever a country defeats another country, there is a pact between them. There is a pact that what is going to, the dominant country, they lay a few rules, they lay a few foundations. And here, a new system was erected of racial domination. What happened here? Racial domination, racial discrimination took place, and on whom? The dark skinned people, blacks and the colored people on their own land. It means that they were going to suffer on their own land. On their own land, they were considered as outsiders. They were considered as dangerous. They were considered as polluted, and they were considered as criminals. Now, the structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane societies the world has ever known. Now, the structure they created, who created? Whites. Whites had created the basis of one of the most harshest and most inhumane societies. What was the harshest structure? The harshest structure was of apartheid, the racial discrimination the world has ever known. Yes, never in this world this kind of suppression had happened. This kind of discrimination had taken place, which happened in Africa by the whites. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own eighth decade as a man, now he is saying that in the last century, now in the last decade of the 20th century, in the last decade, okay, and his eighth decade as a man, 20th century has ended, and even it's his eighth decade, it means that he's in his 80s. He says that this system has been overturned forever. This system has overturned. Now nobody is going to dominate on the other person. It's not going to be very harsh. The society is not going to be so harsh, and it is replaced by one that recognizes the rights and freedoms of all people. Yes, nobody is going to be harsh. Nobody is going to be inhumane on the other person. They are, going to get rights and freedoms. They are going to get equal rights and freedoms. Yes, like it happens in a democratic country. In a democratic country, everybody gets right, everybody gets freedom, regardless of the color of their skin. Yes, earlier the people were, segregated on the basis of their skin color. The white people used to think that we are supreme powers, and the black people are not, humans. They didn't, they never considered them as humans. But now this is not going to happen. Even their rights would be, taken care of. Their freedom would be taken care of. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people. People whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. Now, Nelson Mandela is saying that this was not easy. Yes, this was not an easy journey. That, unimaginable sacrifices. Many people sacrifice. Yes, many people sacrifice their lives. Many people sacrifice. Many people showed a lot of courage. Yes, people suffered for this. People showed a lot of courage. It cannot be counted. Obviously, it cannot be counted. We can also see, as in the case of India, there are a lot of, freedom fighters. The freedom fighters who worked, who actually, sacrificed their lives for the sake of people. Bhagat Singh, and we can talk about Rajguru, Dev. They even gave their own life. They gave their own life. They were just 23. Bhagat Singh was only 23 when he gave his own life. He sacrificed his own life. And that amount of courage he has, I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. Now, Nelson Mandela is saying that I am a sum of all those. I'm a sum of all those people. It means that all those people who have sacrificed for the sake of our country, I am a sum of all these people. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. That long and noble line, he's talking about all the freedom fighters, all the fighters who have worked for South Africa's, freedom. He says that it has ended, now it has began with me, it has began with me. It means that people who used to suffer, now I am the president, I am the president, and they are starting with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them, and they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. Yes, now he is actually sad, he is pained, he is agonized that these people, that these great people, they cannot see that how fruitful it has turned, that their country is free now. He is, firstly, he's thanking those people, he's thanking those people because their sacrifices cannot be counted. You cannot even, begin to thank them. It's not enough. Thank you is not enough for them. And but they cannot see it, they cannot see that their country has got freedom. Just think about it. Bhagat Singh has done so many, so much for our country. He could not see, he could not see when the country got freedom, when he was in college, when he was in school, when he saw the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and when he was being suppressed. He always thought of freedom, he was always thinking about freedom. He used to think that how beautiful our country would look with freedom. Yes, how beautiful it would look when he was, when our country was free from the shackles of British reign. He would have, he died for seeing that. He died for seeing that. He died before seeing that. And that was really painful. He was not a part of that, ceremony when India got independent. So, Nelson Mandela is also feeling the same thing for those people who have actually died for the country, and they could not see that how fruitful it has turned, that all their sacrifices have now, bloomed. They have now bloomed into a beautiful country. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. Now, what is Nelson Mandela saying? He is saying that we are going to spend generations, if not years, recovering from this kind of hurt, this kind of grief, because it was a very bad time. It was such a bad time. It was, full of humiliation. It was full of pain. It was full of so many, it was a grim atmosphere. They can never forget it. And the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect. Now, Nelson Mandela was such kind of a person who used to find something positive even in the grimmest of the situations. Now we can see that this situation is very tense. People cannot forget such kind of thing, the humiliation that they suffered for so long. But now he's saying that the decades of oppression creates an unintended effect, and that what kind of effect was it? Was that it produced Oliver Tambo's, the Walter Sisulu's, the Chief Luthulis, Yusuf Dadus, Bran Fishers. Yes, now you can see S is put behind all these names. We do not generally put S after the proper nouns. Yes, we do not, pluralize the proper nouns. But here it is done. It is done because he wants to say that many more people like Oliver Tambo's, a lot of children were born after Oliver Tambo, okay, and they got inspired from him. Or even the existing, generation got inspired from him, and they became Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu. It's just like saying that there were a lot of Bhagat Singh, born after Bhagat Singh, went. Okay, after Bhagat Singh was gone, there were a lot of people who were born, who were inspired by him. Okay, now men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity, that their like may never be known again. He is saying men of such extraordinary. Yes, these people were extraordinary. They were not ordinary. Their wisdom and generosity, we will never see that again. Okay, we can also see that. The people of that time, my grandparents usually say that the people who used to exist at that time when British rule was there, okay, the children of that time, they were so responsible. They loved their country so much. They had so much nationality in them that the children of today, today's generation cannot match them. Yes, it is true that today's generation cannot match such kind of generosity, courage, and wisdom. Their like may never be known again, and we absolutely agree. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppression. Yes, such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. Yes, if you have to rise such kind of person who has such a high character, like the people that he has mentioned, you need to, this kind of oppression is needed. Yes, when the people are oppressed, when the people are suppressed, rises a person. Out of that rises a person who is, above in the character. He has such height of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil. But I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. Now we can see that Nelson Mandela is proud of his people. He's saying that my country is very rich. You know that South Africa is full of minerals. There are a lot of diamonds there. There are a lot of minerals there. But he's saying that I'm not proud of that. My country is not rich because we have so many, minerals. We are rich because we have such extraordinary people. We have such great people who have so much wisdom. And these kind of people, we can never see them again. They are such great people. He is very proud of those people. Now, we can see, yeah, there is an image of all those people, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Luthuli, all these great people. These are some prominent names. Yes, these are the names. These are the people who actually took part in the struggle against apartheid, and we should actually thank them. We should thank them. Now, you must be thinking that we are not South Africans. Okay, they have not done anything for us. They have done for us. They have contributed towards a world peace. The world is not free of oppression. The world is not, peaceful if even one of the countries is suffering. So South Africa, when South Africa became free of apartheid, even we got peace. Okay. Now, it is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Comrades, it means that the people who were with him, he's saying that in this struggle, he learned the meaning of courage. Okay. Now, Nelson Mandela was not a courageous person. A person is not born courageous. He gets courage by seeing the other people, when he's inspired by other people. Time and again, I have seen men, women risk and give their lives for an idea. Now, Nelson Mandela is saying that I became courageous because I have seen. Time and again means many times he has seen a lot of people, men and women, who actually contributed their lives, who have risked their lives for an idea. And what was that idea? That idea was freedom. Freedom from discrimination. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. He is saying that it is beyond imagination. People have suffered so much. People have suffered such amount of torture and attacks, physical harm, physical pain. He has seen, lengths of physical pain he has seen, mental pain he had seen, and he is saying that I cannot actually imagine. It was beyond imagination, and people have suffered it. They stood after that. He is saying, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Yes, everybody fears. Okay, this is actually very, very true. Everybody fears, but you have to, win that fear. You have to win over that. He's saying that we have to triumph over it. The brave man is not the who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. If a person says that I do not fear anything, I'm a fearless person, no, it's wrong. Everybody fears, but you have to triumph over it. You have to win over that fear, and that is what he's trying to say. He is saying that I have learned courage from these kind of people who have stood after so much torture. Now, again, I'll talk about the Indian freedom fighters. The Indian freedom fighters, when they were put to jail, even they were, tortured. The extent of physical pain that they used to get, you cannot imagine. You cannot put that to words. It was beyond our imagination. We, generation of today, they cannot suffer so much pain. They cannot endure such kind of humiliation, such kind of physical pain or mental trauma. And Yet they stood and our country got independence just because of that, just because of that patience that they had. Now, no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Now Nelson Mandela is talking about the characteristic of a human being. He is talking about the basic nature of a human being. He is saying that nobody is born with hate in his heart, nobody is born with love in his heart. He's taught that. If a person can be taught to hate, he can also be taught to love, because love comes naturally, because everybody has love in their heart. Nobody is born without feelings. Nobody is born without feelings. Okay, they are born without feelings. We instill those in them. The society instills the feelings in them, and these feelings are very natural to come. Hate comes, but love comes even more naturally. Why is he saying that? He says that even in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Now he's saying that when he was in prison with his comrades means with his fellows, there were other people also now who were fighting against apartheid. He said that when we were in prison and we were physically harmed, when we were mentally tortured, he used to see that even the grimmest times means even the saddest times, when we were being pushed to our limits, when we were beaten so much, he could see a spark of humanity, a little bit of humanity in a person. Because a person is constantly beating the other person, he's just beating the other person, he's for a moment, for a second, he stops. Because he's not able to see the condition. He feels pity even for a second. He said that even for a second, and it was enough to keep me going. It was enough to keep me going, because at that moment Nelson Mandela thought that yes, even this person, even this kind of inhumane person has a little bit of humanity in him. It means that I should work on that. I should work on that humanity. I should work on that spark, and I should induce love in such kind of person. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. He has considered, humanity with flame. He's saying that it can be hidden, it can never be extinguished, that it can never be finished. Every person has humanity. Human beings are known for their humanity. Even if they do not, even if they do not show it, they have it hidden somewhere, but they still have it. Yes, everybody has humanity, and that kept him going, and that kept all the people going. They saw that yes, this can be worked upon. In life, every man has twin obligations. Now, this is a very important line. He's saying that every man has twin obligations. It means he has two duties to perform. Okay, he has two duties to perform: obligations to his family, to his parents, his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. Yes, every person who is born in this world, they have two duties. One kind of duty they do for their own family, for their friends, their relatives, and the other kind of duty they have towards the nation, the community. Okay, a lot of people that we see around, they're only performing one kind of duty. They are just only working for their family. They are not working anything, they are not doing anything for the nation or for community. But we should do, we should do some charity or something. But now he is saying that we should do this in a civil and in a humane society. Each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities in a civil and humane society. It means in a normal society, even if we talk about India these days, this India is a civil and humane society. Okay, in this humane society, everybody has twin obligations. We should fulfill that. We do something for our family. Okay, we are working for our family, we are helping our family in our own ways. But he's saying that even we should do something for the community, own inclinations and abilities. We have our own inclinations and abilities. For example, if a person is a very good cook, he loves to cook, he can cook meals for the poor people. He can just cook and he can distribute the meals for the poor people. If a person is very rich, If the person is very rich, what he can do? He can donate money, he can donate his clothes to the poor people. Okay. But if a person is not very rich, but he still wants to help the community, if he still wants to help his country, how he can do that? For example, he has a skill. He is a carpenter. He's very good at wooden work. What he can do? He can go to the poor people's house and he can mend the houses for free. For example, poor people, they cannot afford to keep their houses intact. Okay, their roof is broken or their door is broken. Now that person, what he can do? He can, work on his house, you know, and he can use his own skill for the welfare of the society. So this is what he's trying to say. But in a country like South Africa, now he's telling about the society which was earlier there before this freedom. He's saying that in a country like South Africa, it was impossible for a man of my birth and color fulfill both of those obligations. Yes, when he saw of my birth and color means that he was a black person, he was not even able to fulfill one duty properly. Okay. South Africa, a man of color means black or colored person, who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. Yes, even if a person wanted to live like a human being with basic, abilities, with basic amenities, and, live a normal life, he was not allowed to do so. He was being, snatched away from the society and he was thrown away somewhere. He was isolated. And in South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people, even to his people, was twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. He was forced to live a life apart. Yes, that kind of a person was isolated. He was actually, picked up from the society and he was put in a life of secrecy. Yes, they were put behind bars. Even a lot of freedom fighters in India, a lot of freedom fighters were picked up from India who actually, fought a lot against the British government. They were put into the, prisons in islands of Lakshadweep. In Lakshadweep and in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, they had a lot of prisons. They were put there because they were actually extraordinary people who wanted to work for the society, who wanted to, work against the British rule. And the same thing happened in South Africa. In South Africa as well, these kind of people who wanted to work for their people, they were isolated, they were kept in secrecy, and they became rebels. Obviously, they were rebels. Now, I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. Now, he was saying that earlier, when Nelson Mandela was a normal person, when he was a common man, he said that I was not, keeping the society and my people above. I was just working as a son. I just wanted to fulfill one of the obligations that was towards my own people. But when he was not even allowed to do that, he, actually his eyes opened. He saw that what is actually happening in the society. Now we are going to learn that how Nelson Mandela became Nelson Mandela. I was not born with the hunger to be free. I was born free. Free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut. Free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village. Free to roast mealies under the stars and the ride broad backs of slow moving bulls. He's saying he was born free because for a child, what is freedom for a child? The freedom for a child is that he is able to play. Okay, he's able to play, he's able to love his family, he's able to play with friends, he is able to swim. He said that he thought that he is free because he was free to swim in the stream that was in his village. He was able to ride the bulls of his village. It means that it was freedom for him. He thought that I am free. But as long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. Earlier, there were only laws by his father or by his tribe. He used to follow that and he think that, yes, I am free. Nobody is minding me. Okay, I am not in any emancipation. But it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, he later realized that everything was an illusion. When he was a young child, when he was a child, he used to think that I have a lot of freedom. I can do anything that my heart wants. But later he found that he is not even to fulfill his duty as a student. He cannot, read what he want. He cannot learn what he wanted. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. When he was a when he was a student, he wanted freedom for himself only, because when we are students, we are in our adolescent age, we are in teenage, and we only consider ourselves to be the main, point. He was considered that he thought that only I need freedom, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night. The transitory freedom means the normal. It means that he didn't need permission. He wanted that he should not take permission to move, to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I choose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. Now, the perceptions of freedom change at every aspect of life. When you are a child, you want to do what your heart likes. You want to swim, you play, want to, enjoy your life. Okay. And when you are able to do that, you think that, yes, I am free. He also thought that he was free. But when he became a student, okay, when he became a student, he saw that all these things were an illusion, because now he cannot do what his heart wants. Okay. He cannot study what he wants. He cannot stay at night. And when he became a man, when he became a young man, he saw that he is not even getting the basic freedoms of having a family. Even he is not able to properly keep a family. He's not able to keep his own salary of his own keep. And he is not, he is getting obstructed in every step of his life. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. He saw that it was not the case only with him. Only he was not, stopped from doing all those things freely, but even his brothers and sisters, even the people of his community, everybody who looked like him, every black and every colored people, okay, his eyes started opening. He saw the things with that perspective that nobody is getting freedom. Okay, now that is when I enjoyed. Curtailed here means reduced. Yes, their freedom was being reduced. That is when I joined African National Congress. This thing, this thing created a zeal in him, and he joined African National Congress. And that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. When he was hungry for his own freedom, he wanted his own freedom. But when he saw that everybody was same, everybody is not getting freedom, every black person is not getting freedom, the hunger, became the greater hunger for the people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. Now, the transformation, as I already told you, that we are going to learn that what actually transformed Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was a man of family. From a man of family, he became a man of people. From a frightened young man, he was frightened, okay? He was a frightened young man. He became a bold person. He became a bold person, okay? He was not, bold person from starting. It was his transformation. He worked towards his transformation. He was a law abiding attorney. Now he was a criminal. He was a family loving husband. Now he became a man without a home. He was forced to live like a monk. Now, a lot of children ask me, lot of students ask me that, ma'am, Nelson Mandela says that a man has twin obligations, that a man has to do toward his family and towards his society. Then why did he leave his home? Why did he leave his home? Why did he become without a family? Why did he become a monk? Now, the answer is that he used to live in South Africa when apartheid was being practiced. Here in that country, even a person is not able to fulfill even a single duty. He worked towards the other duty. He had to leave the first duty as a, husband, as a brother, as a father. He had to work for the people. That is why he had to leave one of the duties, so that he can perform at least one of the duties, faithfully. Okay, so that is the answer. Now, I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Now he is such a humble man. We see that Nelson Mandela is such a humble man. He is not considering himself to be great. He's not saying that I am a great person. I'm just as grateful as the other person. Even the other person is also, great like me. He's self-sacrificing. I am no bigger than the other person, he's saying. But when he saw that he is not able to, the people of his are not able to enjoy the limited freedoms, the freedoms, he could also not enjoy that. He could also, not live in peace. That is why he started working for the welfare of the society. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains of honor. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains of honor of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. Yes, he's saying the freedom is indivisible. It means that if freedom should exist, it should exist for every person. Okay, even if one member of the family is not getting freedom, it means that none of the members of the family are getting freedom. That is what Nelson Mandela is saying, that he was not working for his own freedom, but the freedom of all the people. He was trying to break the shackles, he was trying to break the chains of all the people where they were bound. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressor. Now, Nelson Mandela is such a great person that he said that it is not only the oppressed that should be liberated, but even the oppressor. Yes, even the oppressor has to be liberated. What is the reason behind that? A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. He wanted to free the oppressors as well. He forgave white people. The biggest thing, the most inspiring thing about Nelson Mandela was that he said he inspired people to forgive white people. He didn't say that now we are going to take a revenge on all of you. He said that we should forget them, or we should forgive them actually. We should forget everything that they have done bad for us. Why? Because if we do not, forgive them, they would be, in the prison of hatred. When a person hates the other person, okay, even he is in the prison of hatred. He is bound to hate the other person. Even he is not free. His mind is always, making plans to destroy the other person's life, to, create, huddles for the other person. He said that I want to liberate both of them, so that they are not enemies anymore. Okay, he said, I am not truly free if I'm taking away someone else's freedom. Yes, he said that they took our freedom and we'll take them freedom, they take their freedom. No, then we'll not be free, because even we are, then we'll be bound to, create hurdles for them. Okay, just as surely I'm not free when my freedom is taken from me. If someone takes freedom from me, I'll not feel good. Even I cannot take other person's freedom. Okay, nobody should be a slave, everybody should be free. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Yes, like the oppressed people. Who were the oppressed people? The oppressed people were the blacks who were suppressed, who were being dominated. He said that they were robbed of the humanity. They were not given the human, abilities. They were not even able to fulfill their human abilities. But now, when we do the same with the oppressor, what will happen? We will also become like that. Okay, we do not become to, we do not want to become like them. We want to free them, because both of their freedom is important. Now, the summary of the chapter is this beautiful chapter has ended. This beautiful chapter has ended. We learned about Nelson Mandela, that Nelson Mandela was such a great person that he forgave his enemies. He forgave his enemies all the bad things, all the humiliation that they had, uh, done. They had poured all their, inhumane and social evils that they practiced, and he forgave every one of them. He liberated them. Now, let's come back to the summary. Nelson Mandela joined the ANC. He desired people to live with dignity and respect, wanted the oppressor and the oppressed liberated. As I told you, that he wanted the oppressor and the oppressed both to be liberated. They both should be free from the shackles of suppression. According to Mandela, freedom has many aspects. Like for a kid, as he already told, that for a kid it is to run and play. For an adult, it is to fulfill the needs of his own and his family. Real freedom means equal rights for everyone. Yes, the meaning of freedom changes in our life. Okay, when we are a young child, the freedom means something else. When we become a young boy, the freedom, when we become an adult, the meaning changes. But the basic meaning of freedom is freedom for all, equal rights for everyone. He also stated that a man should try to make a balance between his duties. Yes, he's mentioning about the twin duties that we should have. We have duties towards our family. We should work towards the welfare of our family, because charity begins at home. Okay, but we also should spare our time for our community, for our nation. We should do something for them, according to our inclinations and our own abilities. Okay, as I gave you a full example. Now, Mandela said in speech that a country is rich because of its people, not because of the minerals. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the victory over it. People love others and not hate them due to color or religion. Love comes naturally, not by force, which is the natural goodness. We cannot force the other person to love us. We cannot force the other person to hate us. Yes. Now he's saying that he is also praising his country. He's saying that our country is not rich because of the minerals. Our country is rich because our country has such great people. Salutation to some great freedom fighters. He gave salutation. He thanked a lot of people like Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu. Also saw that he has put an S in the end of the proper names, because he wanted to convey a message. He wanted to say that many people like them were born after it. Mandela remembered and thanked the people who sacrificed their lives for the freedom. He thanked everyone, okay, for the sacrifices. A new system that recognized the rights and freedom of all people was formed. Yes, a new system was formed. Everybody got right and freedom. There was democracy took birth in that country. Singing of two national anthems. Yes, this was done to create an image of unity. Yes, this was done to show unity, that both the people have accepted their own language. It means that they have accepted each other, okay, and they promised that they are going to learn, they are going to by heart the lines of the national anthem that they once despised. Now, a colorful show by jets and helicopters to show military's loyalty took place. He said that it was not for pinpoint precision, it was for showing the military's loyalty to the country. Mandela pledged to liberate his people from poverty, suffering, and discrimination. He promised to liberate his people from all these social evils, like he has, given freedom to people from racial discrimination. He is also going to, release people from poverty, from bondage, from suffering, and from other kinds of discrimination like gender discrimination, etc. The victory for justice, peace, and human dignity. He said that this is a common victory. He told everyone, he told the people who were present for that inauguration ceremony, he addressed them and he said that it is a common victory for justice, peace, and human dignity. Yes, it is a work towards human dignity. What is human dignity? Human dignity means respect. Okay, you must have learned that in Russian Revolution, we also learned. In Russian Revolution, we saw that every person, they were having a lot of freedoms. They were, able to do their own business. They got economic freedom. But for them also, freedom, the basic freedom was important. The economic freedom was nothing for them. They wanted human, they wanted dignity, they wanted respect, they wanted to be considered equal, they wanted their own type of government. And this is what he said. He said that I will free everyone from the discrimination, and everybody is going to get respect. Yes, everybody yearns for respect. Every man is born free. Yes, every man that takes place on this mother earth, even the animals and the birds, everyone is free. Inauguration ceremony or swearing in ceremony was being held in Union Building in Pretoria, and first non-racial government took the charge. Yes, it was for the very first time that non-racial government took the charge. Democratic government took place, and 10th of May, no, May was a day of freedom for South Africa. South Africa gained freedom on 10th of May, and there was a huge gathering of international leaders and dignitaries, as we saw that he was thanking all the people, all the dignitaries and world leaders, that we thank you, okay, that you became a part of this inauguration ceremony. It was a huge day for South Africa, because never on the soil of South Africa such thing was taken. Now we'll discuss the question answers. Now, before starting the question answers, I want to say that I do not want you to mug up the question answers that I've written. Okay, I am just trying to give you a basic idea that how you have to frame the answers. A lot of children face many problems in framing the answers. For them, okay, I want to say that beta, first of all, you have to line by line understand the meaning of the chapter. Then you have to increase your vocabulary, and you have to see that how the answers are formed. You just have to take an idea. You do not need to mug up. Okay, now, why did such a large number of international leaders attend the inauguration? What did it signify the triumph of? A large number of international leaders came to attend the inauguration. Why did they come? To pay their respect to newly formed government. It showed a gesture of solidarity from the international community to the concept of end of apartheid. Gesture of solidarity. They showed it. They showed their support by being a part of that ceremony. This signified the victory of good over evil. Yes, good over evil. Okay, apartheid was a evil, racial discrimination was a evil, and now it had ended for good. Now, this signified the triumph of a tolerant society without any prejudice and discrimination of caste, color, and creed. There was no prejudice after that, because even the oppressors, the white people, were also liberated. What does Mandela mean when he says he's simply the sum of all those African patriots? What do you mean by that? Yes. By saying that he's simply the sum of all those African patriots, Mandela wants to pay his tribute. He's actually trying to, pay tribute to all these people. He's saying that those people who work for the sake of the freedom, I want to thank them all. I want to, pay a tribute to them. He says that he is grateful. He's grateful to those who had gone before him, because those heroes of past had paved the path of cooperation and unity for him. Yes, they had paved the path. Now, Nelson Mandela could not do this all alone. Yes, there was a path which was already being laid by the freedom fighters who worked for the country earlier. He said that I walked on that path, and now I was able to liberate my own people. Therefore, he could try to come to power to become equality, to bring equality for his people with their support. It was only with the help of the support of these people, that of the African patriots, that he was able to liberate his own people. Would you agree that the depths of oppression create heights of character? How does Mandela illustrate this? Can you add your own examples to this argument? Yes, I agree. Yes, depths of oppression create heights of character. It means that it took such amount of oppression to create such nice people, to create such great people. Nelson Mandela illustrates this by giving the examples of great heroes. All these great heroes like Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu, they were the people who were an inspiration for the people. Okay, they were the people from whom people got inspiration. They got inspiration to work for the country. Our country, like India, is full of such examples. Many freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh and Mahatma Gandhi, they have inspired us. They have inspired millions. Okay, millions of people got inspired, and we were only able to get freedom because everybody came together. Everybody came together because they were inspired by these personalities. Mandela seems to be absolutely right. Yes, he is absolutely right that these people, they were not created in a day. Okay, they did not become freedom fighter in a day. It took a lot of sacrifice, it took a lot of pain for them to become like that. How did Mandela's understanding of freedom change with age and experience? Now, with age and experience, Mandela understood the real meaning of freedom. As a young boy, he thought, yes, freedom, the meaning of freedom changes. When he was a child, he believed that if he obeyed his father, or if he obeyed his tribe, he's a very good person, he is free, he has freedom. When he became elder, when he became older, freedom to raise a family, he thought that freedom to raise a family, freedom to start his own family, freedom to keep his own salary, it was the only freedom. It was gradual, it was a gradual process when he realized that freedom is not that. Freedom is giving equal rights and opportunities to all people. He saw that freedom, only he doesn't need freedom, all the black and colored people needed freedom. It was the freedom from fear and prejudice. He wanted freedom from fear and prejudice. Age and experience widened his perspective of freedom. Yes, as he grew older, only then he was able to understand the meaning of freedom. Now, how did Mandela's hunger for freedom change his life? Mandela realized in his youth that it was not just his freedom. Yes, when he grew older, he saw that only his freedom was not being curtailed. It was the freedom of his brothers and sisters as well. It was the freedom of all the people who looked like him. It means that it was a freedom for all the black and colored people that was being curtailed. This transformed him from a frightened young man into a bold man, from a man of family to a law abiding lawyer, and finally a criminal. In the end, he became a criminal for helping his own society. He sacrificed the comforts of a settled family. He could have, lived in the comfort of his own family. Okay, whatever kind of freedom it was curtailed, but it was still a freedom. He was able to, live with his own family. What else he wanted? He wanted freedom for everyone. He wanted that I am getting little bit freedom, but I want to give full freedom, full, equality to all my people. That is why he joined African National Congress. This led him join African National Congress. Now, thank you so much, my students, for this lovely session. I hope you understand this chapter very clearly and you were inspired by a great person like Nelson Mandela. Thank you so much, my beautiful children. Take care. Bye bye.